Welcome back to the Rodeo Wagon podcast, brought to you by the Western Edge app and Cosmic Cowboy Production. We're here with Bonner Bolton. Man,
Hey, buddy.
Man,
I see you sporting that sweet gear
right now. I know.
It's pretty cool cap you got.
I think I have maybe 6 good hats, and this is one of them.
Nice, bro.
You have
Thanks
a
for the
decision
love.
when you get a new hat. You have a decision to make whether it's going to be a working hat or whether you're going to kind of keep it semi-nice.
And this one, yeah, it's that clean go to the club cap. Yeah, hell yeah. Well, man, Thanks for having me on, dude. I've been really enjoying watching what you're doing with the podcast and over there at Western Edge, you and Benny. Man, it's really cool to see you bringing the community together with what you're doing. I'm super proud of you, man.
Man, that's what we're about. You know, it's one of those things where, like, we have the technology now and we have the ability to connect, you know, more than we've ever had. And it's time that this Western community actually starts utilizing that. Because as you know, like Facebook and Instagram, great. The social media sites are great in how they connect people, but they've become so broad that it's difficult, you know, to really.
Exactly right. You're trying to swim in the, you know, the ocean of everybody in the world pretty much that lives on those, you know, 4 or 5 platforms. And then, you know, now in our niche, everybody's on those platforms, but it's just cool to see something focused for the rodeo world and for everybody to kind of see what's going on and get the inside scoops. So you guys are doing a great job. I think the Western industry has, we're always kind of the last to catch on when it comes to the new innovative technologies and everything. But it seems like, I don't know, I feel like things are kind of starting to level up a little bit with the rest of society now.
I think too, part of that is kids nowadays are on their phones.
Everybody's having to get used to this thing right here.
And it's like we were talking about it the other day, and some of the things we're doing to help digitize for associations and stuff, you know, where in the past you have to print out paper and fill it out and mail it in with a check and, you know, do all of this stuff. And nowadays people are just as good, or actually they're better, they're more efficient with their cell phones and typing on their cell phones than they are with pen and paper. They can actually use their cell phone more efficiently than they can use the pen and paper.
That's right. I mean, all the kids nowadays, you got to think about it. All the kids are growing up using that more than pen and paper, especially. And me, and I'm sure you too, especially me, probably. I think I'm a little older, but I grew up, you know, definitely handwriting everything all the way through college, you know, and typing papers out had just kind of become a thing in college, like when I was in college. So, yeah, it's, you know, I've had to learn to evolve over time with everybody else. And thankfully I've got a bunch of younger siblings that kind of helped with that. And, you know, and then I got into the technology space after becoming a bull rider. So
I kind of was in between that period. I mean, for me, what's old now is like you learn cursive, and nowadays even teaching that in school.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I learned everything in italic and cursive. And so I had pretty good handwriting at one point. I don't know about anymore, but I actually still really find it honestly really therapeutical to write things out. I really enjoy writing. You know, I'm not the best writer still, but I've learned a good practice over the last year of my life, and that's when I wake up in the morning, you know, write down 3 things I'm thankful for. And that's a really great way to just kind of set your mind on the right track right out of the gate.
Yeah.
First thing in the day.
Great practice.
100%. It's helped me a lot. I'm kind of preaching to the choir. I've kind of been lacking on that, but you know, that's part of my morning routine. I like to have a little quiet time in the morning with my coffee and cowboy coffee.
Yeah.
And, you know, read some positive words. I get into some scripture. I get, you know, have some prayer time, and you know, try to focus my day and write down things that I want to tackle.
that's one thing too. Like for me, really when I'm at my best mentally and even physically, because I think it transfers just because your day's more organized, you're more prepared for it, is like starting the day in meditation and scripture, uh
Yeah.
reading scripture, and then just in solitude. I'll spend 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever that morning looks like as far as how much you need, but spending time in solitude really helps. And another thing that I started doing just recently was ice baths, and doing my time of solitude in that ice bath, and I felt like that even helped even more.
Man,
Just
that's incredible. Yeah, I don't know. I find it really hard to quiet my mind when I'm in a nice bath, but like I love, honestly, it's cool that you brought that up. Especially right there towards the end of my riding career and recovering from my injury, I did a lot of hot and cold transition and really started getting into cold plunge. In
yeah.
fact, when I was in LA doing Dancing with the Stars, my favorite thing about that whole experience out there was a Russian banya. Like, for those that don't know, that's kind of like a sauna house, right? Like a bathhouse of sorts. And you go in there, and in fact, you and I are one of our close mutual friends, Matt Triplett,
Oh yeah.
came to see me out there. And when he was out there, I took him out there to the Russian banya, and oh, it was incredible. You'd have a juice bar on one end, and sorry, I got an incoming. Cool.
All right, we're back. So Matt Triplett and
Yeah. So we would I took him to this Russian banya that my dance instructor had shown me like week one of being out there, because she knew I was going to need it, with my injury and everything. This for those that don't know, I broke my neck a year prior to going on the show Dancing with the Stars, for a little context. And that happened, my bull riding career ended, and then I decided to go do this show. Got the invite, and I thought, well, I still got my legs. I can try to learn how to dance a little bit. I'd done a little two-stepping. And so I went out there, and then my dance instructor showed me this bathhouse out there, and it was kind of like a little word of mouth underground place off of Sunset Boulevard. Just a little gray building you would never notice unless you knew where you were going. And you walk in, it was just so nice. There's a juice bar on one end, hot tub on one end, and then a cold plunge on the other, and about four different types of sauna rooms all around. And then you'd go in, and there was a bar like in the main kind of dining area. They had a dining area you could eat, and the food was incredible. But I took Matt in there, and it was cool. You'd cold plunge, you dip in and out of the cold plunge, get back in the hot tub. And I kind of had this routine down that I would do this little circuit and go through the steam rooms. And man, it was incredible benefits. I felt like at one point, I was in better shape than I was even when I was riding bulls.
yeah, that's interesting. I know the heat therapy is huge, and I really want to get into that. I haven't, right now I'm waiting to get my cast off before I can do anything. But when I went up for finals, and it's a gym that Cooper Davis goes to, and I went in there, and they had the sauna and stuff like that, and I want to get into that as well, because that's supposedly just as good as the cold plunge therapy is. And if you can utilize both, it's even better.
Absolutely. No, and what I learned about that very thing from a biological standpoint is when you do that hot cold transition, supposedly what happens in your body is the red blood cell level in your body rapidly kind of accelerates and reproduces, which then instantly goes to the inflammation, to the injury, and starts to heal that area through natural process in your body, which is really, really cool. I mean, I think, that's the neat thing about our bodies. We're incredibly made, and we have such self-healing ability within our bodies through different techniques and methods like this, that just using organic elements, such as hot and cold water. um I think probably the Indians knew about that,
Well,
way
there's a
back in the day,
lot.
but
There's a lot
we're
now, even Eastern medicine and stuff that's all natural and they've been using it for years is really starting to become popular. And uh, I'm all about trying to find, our bodies, they become deficient in areas. And as we grow older, our body's decaying and it's dying. And so, when you're 20 and when you're 25 and you're 29, there's new deficiencies and there's
right.
natural things that we can use that will actually help our body produce what it's deficient in. And,
Yeah.
inflammation is one of the big ones, especially for us because, what our body goes through, and not even just us, anybody that's, working for a living or getting older, your body, is breaking down, and inflammation's the first thing to start attacking is your body doesn't know how to fight it off. So being able to use natural elements that aren't destroying your body or your stomach liner like ibuprofen, is
Yeah.
huge in just helping you feel better.
Yeah, no, I'm totally against over-the-counter medicine. I really don't believe in it. And I try to stay as organic as I can with any type of, you know, pain therapy, medicine, what have you, and really just try to have a good, clean diet. I mean, what we put in our body affects everything, our thoughts, our attitude, our physical condition, our energy level. And really, this is the sports car. We got to put good oil, good gas in it, and what's cool is I love seeing, the guys in your generation are kind of like that next level athlete in the bull riding world from my generation of guys that, like, Matt's kind of in between, Matt Triplett, but he came in sort of at the tail end of mine and Douglas Duncan's career and Stormy Wing and guys like that. But, we were in the JB Mooney era of his prime, which I guess he's still in his prime. He's still pretty ranked.
Yeah.
But, which is awesome to see. He's just another breed. We won't even talk about
And
that.
he,
But
and he, in his generation, he's at the tail end of an entire generation that was,
right.
we look at JB like he's this unicorn, like crazy smoking cigarettes and,
Yeah.
90 on the weekends, not really working out per se.
He's
And
conditioned his body in a
whole
he's had
different
his
way.
whole own
But
custom program.
but
Yeah.
everybody before JB, that was the same deal. I was talking to Sean Willingham a long time ago, and I remember him telling me, he's like, yeah, so when I first got on tour and stuff, he said they would have, Bud Light coolers in the locker rooms, and he said the guys at the beginning always did better because by the end of the freaking, bull ride, you were a little sloshed and just weren't quite
Oh
as good.
yeah. No, when I first got on tour in 2012, that was the case. There was still big ice chest full of beer. And I loved it, and some of those guys like Luke Snyder and, I guess maybe Brendan Clark and guys like that were still on tour. And that was the rowdy bunch. I kind of got on at the tail end of their career, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool to see.
But yeah, and even the next generation, like, after me, which is just now coming up, and
Mhm.
it's a whole different world than what
Yeah,
it was
whole
then.
different world.
Completely different world. There's not even guys coming up now. They're being introduced to, this sport is evolving. These bulls are evolving, and if the riders don't evolve, then we're not going to catch up to these bulls. And there's only one way to do that, and it's
Well, and
being
what
a
I
better
love,
athlete.
yeah, and just to add to that, a fine point to that is, like, thankfully there's more guys that are retired athletes like me and Doug Champion and guys like that who are starting to give back to this community and share their knowledge, share their training knowledge, their physical fitness. He's someone who sort of went off deep into that arm of you know the sport, and it's really really cool to see sort of the team of trainers he's putting together. I'm super excited about that. We're looking to do some things with him, in fact, with our event with Ultimate Bull Rider, which we can get into here in a little while. But
Yeah, I actually
That's
need to kind of transition into that actually because you're doing a lot. And for me, I've kind of been in this by myself. I've done this
yeah,
for myself, because my background was not in rodeo. My background was in athletics. And so
right.
that side of things for me, the last part was skill development. Whereas
Hmm.
a lot of guys now, the skill development, I say a lot of guys now, pretty much everybody that starts, whether that's steers or, when they're younger, they have years of skill development where I was the opposite. I had years of the athletic development and the
Right.
diet and that part of it. And then the skill development has, this is my 11th year riding. So I'm,
What were
a lot
you?
of guys are 21 when they've been riding 11. So they have that.
What was your other athletic background? What other sports did you come from?
So I played baseball. I played
Nice.
baseball my entire life. I played football a little bit, but
Very cool.
pretty much sports in general. That was, that's what I did from the time I was little. I was more just competition. I'm a competitor. I love to
Yeah,
compete, and the competitive
that's cool.
bull riding made me leave everything that I knew that I'd spent my entire life kind of developing, just because of the competitive nature of it was just so far above and beyond everything else that I had known. You got moments of other sports where in bull riding you get it every single time. But
Well, that's what, grabbed me, even though my dad was a bull rider in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s and 90s. That watching his old pictures and videos. I played other sports. I did martial arts, all kinds of stuff, but I played a little baseball, mostly drew in the dirt. They stuck me in the outfield. I was that kid, but I liked hitting the ball. I needed full contact. That was the thing, and bull riding's what grabbed me, and that's why I'm still fueled by it. That's still my passion, being a cowboy. Growing up on the ranch in West Texas, just working cattle. You know, I could I could really care less about rodeo at the end of the day if there was still just that. And being able to be in the pasture and be horseback. That's what it's all about, being one with God's nature and everything He's given us. So
and it's so like just part of us. I look at my
yeah,
son, my son is a year old, and that's all he wants to do is be around animals. You know, he wants
yeah, oh
to ride horses, he wants to try to ride our dog, he wants to, he just wants to be around
yeah,
animals.
yeah.
And you actually have to be more careful because he'll just take off. He had no reserve. He doesn't know danger. He's not old enough to
He's gonna
really
be
be
like me
around
watching my dad. I was around before my dad quit. In fact, I was about 4 or 5 years old when he won the George Paul Memorial,
That's cool.
and I was riding the hair off, the arm off the couch. Any of my parents' suitcases that I could get between my legs. I was bucking around in the living room, and that was it. And I'm sure that's how your boy is going to be for sure.
So you obviously have a passion for that next generation coming up. What does that
Yeah.
look like in what you're doing? And talk to everybody a little bit about what you are doing.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Well, so we started an event last year called Ultimate Bull Rider, and really that kind of spawned from, ironically, from the technology aspect of what we're doing, which is Rank Ride. And as you can see behind me here, Rank Ride is the brand back here, and Ultimate Bull Rider is our TV show. And so we started out 5 years ago doing technology and had the concept to bring back fantasy football, but for bull riding, right? And I had a brand builder that told me all about it. I really didn't know much about fantasy sports at that time. Had never really even played pro fantasy rodeo, but I had a lot of friends that did. I had a lot of friends that played fantasy football and what have you. And I went from doing the bull riding thing to breaking my neck to modeling and doing the entertainment world stuff. And I made a lot of money and pretty much put all of my money that I made from bull riding and all that stuff back into this product right here, Rank Ride. And, I was on a pretty good upward trajectory in the entertainment space. And I think I could have probably continued to pursue that and do all that. but that wasn't my heart, you know. And I think a lot of people maybe during that 3-year contract I had probably thought, you know, this guy's never coming back. He's left. He's gone to Hollywood. He's one of those weirdos, or you know, whatever. And and that's simply not the case. I broke my neck, and I really didn't even know if I was ever going to move again. And then when that opportunity came up, I thought, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to take that, because you know, they make a lot of money over there, and I'm going to do all I can to make all I can, and see what we can do from there. But and that's what I did, and I found out that that life wasn't for me as soon as I got up in there. I've got a lot of stories I can tell about that, and I will probably, but not on this podcast
Yeah.
today. And but yeah, so PBR sent me all the way up through their corporate ladder, you know, to meet all the high up executives at Endeavor. And I went to all the fancy dinners and all the parties, and I saw a whole lot. And, you know, at that point, when I decided that's not for me, I really want to kind of make a business for myself around the life I come from, that I grew up in. I was born into this lifestyle, you know, into this community, this culture. And I'm a fifth generation cowboy that grew up on a ranch that started in 1903. And this is my life. My dad was a pro and rode with the best of them, with Ty, Tough, Lane, all those guys. He was friends with all those guys, and he just didn't go as hard as those guys did. He decided to be a dad, you know, and became a world champion dad, and multiple time. He's 5'6", but I always tell people he's got, you know, hella big boots to fill. He's a good man, and he's always been my hero, and that's what's inspired me my whole life. And you know, so I wanted to come back to the root of that, and touch back down to earth from doing all the Hollywood stuff. And as soon as I made that decision, the really tough, disappointing part was, you know, I thought this community of PBR, you know, because of the Cowboys that it's made up of, right? You know, this brand is just the brand, but really the people that make that brand work are the people, right? It's me and you.
Yeah.
It's the Cowboys, it's the contractors, and it's the bullfighters, and it's the fans. You know, it's not these corporate uh, people. It's the fans, and without them, we wouldn't be getting paid to do what we do. You know, but if they weren't there, we would still be doing it out in the pasture somewhere. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and
No.
that's the point I really want to drive home is, you know, corporate has not done me well, and I went about as high up in that company as you possibly could. And I know you're still there, and you're still a writer,
Yeah.
and you've got a great career ahead of you there, and you've done well there. And I encourage all the guys that are still there to know, and I hope they hear this in this podcast, because I've been on some other podcasts and I've shared these feelings before, and it's really, I think, maybe struck a nerve in the industry a little bit. Maybe that, hey, Bonner's not on our team or something like that. And that's not true at all. I'm not on the corporate team. I'm on the Cowboy team. And um, it is corporate versus Cowboy, truly. And I hope that all the guys wake up and realize that it's because of you guys that this stuff exists. And if everybody would just take a step back and realize the brand that they're riding for was started by 30 other cowboys that got tired of corporate. Okay. So I'm just here to say it here. I'm going to make an announcement today, right here on your
All
podcast,
right.
that I'm here to, you know, I'm here to compete. You know, these guys have shown me that they're willing to cut my cinch, that they don't have my back. The industry does not have these guys' backs, and every cowboy needs to wake up and realize that. But I am here to lead the charge and start a whole nother association, and I have through Ultimate Bull Rider. And we're going to give some really cool opportunities here pretty soon that are, I think, going to challenge the industry. We've got some big announcements coming up, but the main thing is I want to make the message clear. We are community driven. We're not corporate driven. We don't care about that anymore. I think the whole country's waking up to this and realizing on a commercial corporate level, there's a lot of control trying to happen. And so we've got to be really, really mindful as a community together that we are all we have, really, at the end of the day. And we don't have to bow down and make decisions out of fear, and that we've always ran our own shit, and we've always been our own boss, and we've never bowed down or cowed down to tyranny and that type of control. And that's why America exists, is because of the great frontiersmen that were willing to stand up against that. And I think we're not really at that point. But at the same time, it's not, we're living in a different day and age, and they're not going to come out with big neon sign flashing that, hey, this is the times we're in, and this is what we're doing to you. It's kind of like we all just have to wake up and realize and acknowledge and become aware more and more every day that as a community, we have to support each other, and it's because of our neighbor and loving each other, looking out for each other and caring for each other. That's what it's all about. That's what we're here for.
I think too, the way I look at it, even as an athlete right now is, there's really three things. The first thing is I believe in authenticity, and corporate businesses in general aren't really based on what's authentic in the Western world and the traditions that have come up. I don't believe that technology and all of this stuff should overtake tradition. And it's really important to us at Western Edge that we do not give the vibe that we're trying to change tradition. We're trying to actually help that tradition thrive in a time when corporate businesses all over this country are, pulling wool over people's eyes, and they're actually tearing down that tradition, and they're not valuing the tradition.
There's a lot of division being poisoned into the mind of the athletes from the corporate level down, because corporate controls everything now in rodeo, in bull riding. There are no cowboy associations driven by cowboys, ran by cowboys, thriving in this community, because like everything else, it's become so commercialized that there's kind of like a major monopoly being ran on the entire industry, and the cowboys don't have say anymore. They don't have a seat at the table for their own well-being, which is what PBR got pissed at me earlier this year for saying on another podcast, because I just simply stated the truth. The guys' lives are being pushed to the max. More work, more risk is being required of the athlete, more push all the time for their promotion. But you don't see the money really getting that much better. In fact, they're spreading it out so much. They make it seem like there's a lot, but they're spreading it out so much that for the single individual in the traditional sense of the sport, all the single individuals who are putting their life on the line and risking it all and winning shit for their team are not getting rewarded near the same as what they would have in 2000 or 1998, or anywhere from 2000 to 2015 when I was riding. Like, just a whole nother ball game now. And they've just kind of kept the pay right here and adding in a little bit here,
Hey there,
a little
folks.
there to
I want
kind
to
of
tell
make
you
it
about my
seem
favorite
better,
cowboy hat brand,
where
Sombrero brand.
there's
As a
they've
professional
made
bull rider,
so
I know
much
how
money over
important
the
it is
top.
to have a hat that not only looks good, but can withstand the toughest rides out there. And that's exactly what Sombrero Brands delivers. Their hats are custom fitted and shaped to perfection, with a level of attention to detail that's hard to find these days. But what really sets Sombrero Brands apart is the fact that they're a family-owned and operated business. Mark and Kendall Holler, the owners, and their daughter Sarah, who's only 13 but already a hat-making prodigy, are all passionate about their craft. They know what it takes to make a cowboy hat that can stand up to anything the rodeo circuit can throw at it. And get this, the founder's grandfather, Polly Holler, was born and raised at South Camp on the 4-6's ranch. These folks have got cowboy blood running through their veins, and it shows in every hat they make. That's why I'm proud to have Sombrero Brands as a major sponsor for my podcast, the Rodeo Wagon podcast. So if you're in the market for a hat that's tough enough to handle anything the rodeo throws at it, give Sombrero Brands a try. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
I just think it's time. There's a lot of things changing in this country. There's a lot of good things changing. There's a lot of, you see kind of these dark moments and things on the news, but I think below the surface is bubbling some really, really good change, and I'm here for it. I'm part of it. I'm part of the cavalry here riding in.
I think the big thing for me too in all of this, and especially now as I've, like I got to the point in my career, triplet was a, big part of like telling me to start thinking like, like your career is going to end at some point,
Yep.
5-10 years, you need to start prepping for that 5 to 10 years in advance before you're done riding, that's a long time to prep, but it's still an important time. And I was blessed to have, agent and Vinny Malzahn with VM Sports that actually cared about my well-being and like took the time to actually
Vinny's a great guy, man.
to discuss, hey, this is what this looks like, and an agent's not going to do that for you, so Vinny can't do all of that for me. I need to start thinking for myself, and he helped me with that, what that looks like to start that process. And
surrounding yourself with the best guys too.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of those deals that this was a big thing that I ran into, like with the PBR, and it really opened my eyes with and I believe now there's a lot of guys that this is the biggest issue with this transition that's happening is transparency. And
transparency, 100%.
And there's none of it. And that's the
There
hardest.
is no transparency. Do we know how much Sean Gleason makes?
No. And
do we know how much the organization makes?
Not at all.
No.
Well, and another kicker for me on like a very experiential note was the whole combine stuff, and like me and Keith and a group of us, we spent, an extra 2 weeks away from our family and dedicated time to come through this process. And at the end of it, I had a concussion in Bangor, Maine, and I still drove all the way across, halfway across the country to go to this combine, even though I knew, okay, I can't get on because I am under concussion protocol, and the sports med specifically told me, do not get on this week if you want a chance to ride next weekend. So I went through that process and still did everything I could. And then we went to the combine. I ended up winning that combine championship. And I thought that would at least get me a conversation with one of the coaches. And nobody ever talked to me about anything. There was no potential. The only person that said one word to me was Cody Lambert. And I respect him more for that. But no conversation with any coaches about, even an opportunity. And so we kind of were left, at the end of the year, like, man. Like, it opens up a new thing. So now
they put you through a lot of expense from your physical to your mental to your financial.
Sure.
For their gain, just to analyze you and then kick you to the curb.
Right. And a lot of it for me was like, is this a political stunt? Because, there's a lot going on right now. They're doing these TV shows and stuff. And, like we're not making a dime off of that. It cost us a lot to be on that. And
no, but they'll sure use your image and do everything in the world with it, even if you're not signed under them or an athlete anymore, which I came to find out. In 2018. They took my image from Dancing with the Stars and sold it all over their corporate pitch deck. And did I see a penny from that? No, I didn't. And that's the kind of thing. And real quick, touching back on just who you surround yourself with, it's so important because these executives from the industry, all they're going to do is sit in their position. You've got your guys who've been there for forever, from the Cowboys that were kind of just ushered in at the upper management level, doing the coaching, doing all these things, and nothing against them. I know some of those guys, but they're just trying to feed their family like everybody else. But I'm here to shake people a little bit and wake them up. I'm gonna stir some shit up a little bit. I'm kind of here to pick a fight a little bit. Like I've got a problem. I've got a big problem with Sean Gleason especially, and he's tried to cut my cinch left and right, and I kind of feel like Jake Paul and Dana White. I feel like I would really love to see Sean in the octagon and us put the gloves on and just go toe to toe. I would love that. In fact, Sean, if you get this, if you see this, just know I'm calling you out right now. And it's all fun, but they've shown me that they don't have my back. They don't have anybody's back. I think everybody knows that. They did a deal with me to partner with me on my fantasy game. Took meetings all, the 4 years we had, or 3 years we were in partnership together. Looked at all my intellectual property, continued to take meetings even after they changed their policy that they supposedly changed in 2021 to share their data. And then just before Christmas of last year, after I spent $1 million of mine and my 20 shareholders' money to build this product for the community, for you guys, my goal and my mission has always been to give back to the community, for this to be a self-propelling type of product that helps not only the fans, and gives them a chance to win big money, but also helps pay the bull riders, helps drive the community, helps these guys get paid more. And that was, I think, truly why PBR did not ever get behind me, support me, and help me fully build this out. They wanted to kind of piggyback off of me, take a look at all of my efforts because I'm a bull rider. They knew I'm gonna take the most authentic approach to this, and sat back and at the same time in parallel continued to build their products in parallel right beside me as they were taking meetings with me, and suppress my product even though I was in contract with them to promote my product. And they blasted their shit way over the top of mine the entire way through. And then for the promise of getting me to the market and promoting me, and then as soon as I developed this product, spend $1 million doing it to get it to the point of monetization where it could actually make them money, and they fulfill their deal, finally get paid out of the deal. Some high up executives from Endeavor come into our last meeting right before Christmas, and I have a feeling, they said, we got to jerk the plug on this kid. He's already beat us to the market. And so at that point, they went directly and started making deals with other companies outside of the cowboy industry, like this Stat Hero company and another company called Alt Data. And even after they canceled and totally screwed me around, canceled my partnership, they decided to go directly to these companies. And I went to them and I still tried to pay them up front for marketing space at PBR events because, hey, we've already invested $1 million. This is all my life's earnings, all my life's work, all my sacrifice. And they decided they weren't going to let me even have marketing yet. They're letting these other companies in. So they are completely discriminating against me, one of their own fucking bull riders, right? And this is great. This is going to be good content because not anybody knows this. And this is going to be a good podcast. This is what I want people to know. This is the real deal. Nobody on that corporate team cares about Cowboys. Okay. We're just a product. We're just a number to them. And if they think somebody like me or you is going to take a piece of the pie out of their deal, they'll chop your head off immediately or try. And the good thing about it is I never had their help. So I became strong and independent without them. We're starting to gain a lot of support, thank God. And it's because of the community. And we're here to team up and link arms with the rest of the community And it's really brought me full circle back around to what my initial heart and drive for this is anyways, which is giving straight back to the industry. This year, we're giving 10% of all of our proceeds back to Western Sports Foundation, Cowboys Helping Cowboys. We're going to even help some up and coming musicians. And a fan in need at the end of the year. We're going to pick a fan out of all these people that are participating that needs our help. And that's what it's here for. So that's why I built it, because of a charity that took on my neck surgery and paid for $114,000 of my own neck surgery when I got hurt, because of a really awesome group of fans that participated in that whole thing. Wasn't because of PBR took care of me, you know, and their bullshit insurance. I would never be here had it not been for the fans. And that is truly, truly my heart and my passion and why I built this product.
Yeah, the insurance is awful. I didn't even use it this time because I learned after a few surgeries that I was better off going and actually getting a legitimate insurance and spending more on a legitimate insurance because I ended up in more debt off of their insurance than I would have. And you're required to use it, period. You have to spend the money. So they've definitely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the bull riders are going to need to take whatever they can get, because we don't get paid $1 million contracts like NFL, like they want to push this to be. We don't get all these benefits. You know, they're still trying to pride kind of the position on, well, these guys have to show up and ride to win, but yet they want to make it this NFL kind of deal. And
I think this is the deal. This is what people are forgetting. I'm all about guaranteed paychecks for riders. I'm all about the initial, the foundational idea of the PBR teams and the PBR.
Yes.
I love the idea. I love the direction. There's one saying as an athlete currently that I don't like, that I know it's just part of it in every sport, is one of the great things about rodeo. One of the great things about bull riding, and right now it's during the regular season. This is it. If you ride good enough, you're going to get on a team, or you're not.
For sure.
You're going to go. You're going to go to the world finals. Like, it's all on your back. The pressure's on you. There's no politics. If you're committed and you go, you can go where you want to go.
Right.
This team series is not that way. Not really, because they're going after a specific person. It's very political in that sense. And it's not, there's no system where you're going to go and gain points and just prove yourself, right? And there's not really a model for even what proving yourself looks like. Like, where are you wanting guys to go? Like, there's no model that's even out there. And we've seen that in the draft, and I'm not against Brazilians. I think there's a bunch of great Brazilians, and our app in the future are going to actually be trying to help those Brazilians be able to come over to the States and more effectively find rodeos and be able to go where the money's at, because they need it, because there's a language barrier. So I'm all about that. But we see this whole idea that's happening within the team stuff, where the scouting process is unorganized and people don't know, they're unaware of what this looks like in this combine deal that really wasn't as, it was more of a social media deal or a media deal than it was, like other sports where that combine really matters and holds a lot of weight. And so we see that happening. So I think that the downside right now is, like, within the regular season, as a athlete, you have an opportunity to prove yourself, and that's what being a Cowboy is. If you go out there, put in the work, and then the results, during that regular season play out, and then what you see now is where guys that made the world finals last year, that went and tied their hand in at the biggest bull riding in the world, are not on a team, and they have to be on a team. So there's some kind of conflict there.
Well,
what is it? Do you want the best bull riders in the world? Is the world finals the biggest bull riding in the world, where the best guys in the world are at? If they are, every single one of those guys should be on a team. And that
absolutely. There's no reason the top 35 from the year shouldn't have the first 35 team picks, 100%, they've been proving themselves all season long. And then you bring some fresh rookie kid in that's never earned his stripes. You know, he may be doing good in the amateur ranks, but gets picked and gets whatever the half-ass contract is they're throwing out there. And then, the guy that's been proving himself all year long that made the finals at a PBR World Finals gets overlooked and left out. But I'm going to have a solution to this. What's great about everything you're saying is I do have a solution I'm about to roll out soon with Ultimate Bull Rider that I think is going to be a complete, total game changer in the industry. And, we'll let everybody see it as soon as it gets here, but it's going to be exciting. At the end of the day, I'm not here. I guess I am here to pick a fight a little bit, but at the same time, I'm just stating truth. These are all things I can prove in every correspondence I've got with PBR, and they know that. That's why they're not jacking with me. They're just trying to cut my head off, at the same time.
I think too, people need to realize, when they watch this and they see this, like, you did it before, I've done it. We've invested our entire careers in the PBR.
Yeah.
My whole career in bull riding has been entirely. I gave
11 years of my life to that organization, just about. Some of that was spent with other organizations as well, like PRCA and at the time CBR, Tough Humans deal. But most of my 20s was all spent with PBR, and I suffered multiple pretty serious injuries. Tore my bicep off the bone at a PBR, put me out a year. From that, had residual injuries. I had to get my elbow cleaned out because of that. About a year later, set out another 4 or 5 months, missed another season, and then it took me about 3 or 4 years to really get my riding back to right. And then things started to really pick up around 2014 and 15, and then going into 2016 is when I broke my neck and it all ended. But I don't regret any of my career and the friends I've made, or riding at that organization. At that time, I think it stood for something different. I still love the history of PBR and all the heroes I looked up to. This is not for me about PBR. It's about the management that exists with PBR now, and those specific individuals I've mentioned on this podcast, and how bad they are truly for the industry. I honestly think they should stick me in there. I'd do a hell of a lot better job, and I dang sure would be looking out for the Cowboys. I know how to handle the corporate, everything they've put me through on the grand stage of publicity and everything else in the industry and in the entertainment world. I know how to handle that. I'd be a way better face for the brand. And I hope one day that Endeavor will kind of wake up and see that. But somebody needs to be in there that actually cares about the Cowboys, that gives the Cowboys a seat at the table. Or, there may just be another brand sneak up and rival them, at the same time.
Yeah, and I that's, again, a lot of us riders, and I'm not the only one, that are currently in it. Like, we love and we believe the PBR, and I'm going to continue my step forward in, in dreams and goals that I have set, that I've said I'm not going to finish until I've done this for myself, for my kids.
As well, you should,
looking up to me. I'm going to finish what I started in that. But I do believe that there's stuff that when I first started as a fan, and then that transition into where I was, it was not what I thought it was. I spent many times on tour almost every year, and I've went through a lot of injuries, and I've came back, and Tandy's operated on me more times than I care, and probably he cares too, So I put my body on the stake for it, and I love where it goes. But Sean Gleason, I've never had a conversation with Sean. In fact, I'd never had a conversation with Cody Lambert until the Combine Championship. I've lightly talked to Luke Snyder because he was, obviously and from Missouri, and Kevin Gross, and then they would have some bull ridings down at Bass Pro. But you know, a lot of these guys, that I looked up to, and then I finally reached that level, and all of a sudden I had to change because I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Like I thought you're going to get here, and you were going to, know people and actually get to talk to some of your heroes and stuff. Never happened. And
Yeah, no, it's totally different than you grow up thinking, and then you get put through it, and people don't understand the trauma that a bull rider goes through on that tour. If you spend any type of substantial time there, it's just, I'm still dealing with it.
and
I still have a lot of trauma that I deal with from my entire bull riding career, especially from there, and how I was treated to the things I got put through, and some old bull riders are probably going to look at this and say, well, that's pussy, or, but that's exactly my point. That's exactly the mentality that is wrong with our sport. Yeah, I believe in being a cowboy. I grew up on a ranch my whole life, and I know what tough is, but there's a difference between that and just straight ego that's being shoved down your throat 24/7. And that was a lot of what guys, especially in my generation, dealt with. I think it's probably not quite as bad now because they're trying to elevate the sport, and they know that there's maybe more implications to how people get treated, but it's still not where it should be based on the amount of danger and fear that these guys have to overcome to do their job, to do it safe, to do it proficiently, and to do it, as safe as they can in that moment when the stakes are the highest and you're getting on the highest caliber of animal you can get on. The breeding program, just like racehorses, has just gone nothing but up and up and up for these bulls. So you're getting on freaks in nature every weekend. You don't know what's going to explode out of there and, take flight, to the next planet. But like, you just got to have your hammer cocked like always. And that's the fun of the sport. That's part of what makes it so special. It's unpredictable. But that scenario should get treated with a whole lot more respect. I mean, if you're going to try to push this shit to the NFL level, then the players need to be treated like NFL players. There needs to be, of course, not every guy should have his way on every little whim, but I just think the danger and the amount of pressure and the severe consequences of the sport that we all know, we see every weekend guys get hurt. That all needs to be considered a lot harder and respected a lot more.
and I know when Mason passed, that was a big deal as far as like, if you really want to see what corporate looks like versus authenticity is the first year after Mason passed, they had the St. Louis Mason Lowe Invitational. Dude, that said a lot. That said more to the fan base and for the contestants than I think anything. And then the next year, just replaced by some sponsor, and
Gone. Yeah.
there was ways in which they could have, I'm sure, made those sponsors happy, and sure they may not have made as much money because they would have had to place that sponsor somewhere else, but it still could have been right there on the headline. There's creative ways in which you can effectively market. But stripping that name from that event, that was a big shot to, I think, all the riders at that time. Like that was a big deal. That was
Mason was a brother of mine, and I rest in peace, Mason. That was a really, really tough blow to the industry, losing him. For the viewers that may not know or that are just tuning into bull riding, go look up Mason Lowe. He was one of the greatest bull riders on tour during his generation. Definitely world champion potential and caliber type, not only bull rider, but just person in life. And everybody loved him. He was kind of a golden child type of person, and everybody loved being around Mason. And I mean, that it wasn't it wasn't just losing another rider, it was losing like one of the top riders and one of the best riders as a person, and just caliber people in general. And it's sad to see that stuff like that doesn't remain memorialized and remembered by the corporate, for sure. But it just, I mean, it's not, again, it's just not a surprise. It's just how it operates, you know.
And a lot of it, like I understand, like there's decisions you have to make within a business, right? Like
Sure.
because if you want to help people, you still have to be able to generate revenue, and to give
Mhm.
back, you have to be able to do that, you know. So I think there's business decisions, but I believe that the problem with becoming overly corporate is that you get away from the roots and the foundation, that you don't try to monetize everything. You know,
And if you're not involving people like me that are on the back end of their career, not riding anymore, that are able to help with some of these business decisions, or be able to speak on behalf of riders on the rider end, which I'd be happy to do because I'm in a great position to do that. I've been through and seen so much of that, and PBR totally could have helped make that possible. They used me as their main ambassador for a long time. But the bigger point is that gets lost if you're not incorporating the culture into some of the decision making. It's totally lost. And I think they are with some of these guys that they've had in there for so long, that are, you know, on the coaching staff now, but they're not at the table making any decisions either. I can promise you.
yeah,
And if they are, I'm really disappointed. You know,
sure.
that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, what the most difficult thing, if you're, you know, just a fan, is like there's layers to all of this, and
Yeah.
a lot of it's transparency. There's even layers of transparency, and
Yeah.
us writers are at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, there's been times where I've
Yeah.
had stuff released to the public before us writers got the email.
Yeah.
And you know, you're talking so much stuff that's just, there's no transparency there. And if you ask, you just get I don't know, it can change.
Yeah. No, it's something in it. But I do believe that good things are happening, and I want to talk so much more about it, but honestly, I'm not here to help them.
Yeah.
You know, they've made their decisions, and if they want them to get better, then they know where to find me, you know. And I would be happy to help step in and be a liaison, a rider representative for you guys. And I think there's a lot of guys that would be, great for it. But, and I'm not even like trying to sell myself. They've had that opportunity, but Sean's had it out for me, and we all know what it is. I've gotten over that. But the point is it needs to get better. It needs to get back to the culture. It needs to get back to the roots. And corporate will never be able to do that by themselves because they're not from our world. You know, they're from New York, and they eat picante sauce, you know. they don't they don't eat green chili down here in Texas, you know.
Yeah,
And
and there's I even that, it's just, there's, you know, genuineness is a real thing, and there's people out
yeah.
there that are genuine, and then there's people out there where they're driven by money. That's what they're driven by.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I work with a lot of different corporate people all around the world, and I'm not saying all corporate people are bad. I just think there are bad corporation, you know, bad people running certain corporations, making really bad decisions, and I think that's really prevalent. We see more and more throughout more big company, big business in general, and sort of this global type try to, you know, control everything, take over from a corporate standpoint rather than even a governmental standpoint.
Yeah. Well,
And yeah.
just to kind of transition a little bit, because, you know, like I want to talk a little bit more about what you're doing, and, you know, what you're giving back. I know for us, one of the big things we're doing right now is we're doing an athlete search. Okay. And
Mhm.
it's a big deal for us because we're like, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are coming up and they're like, I want sponsored, and they're athletes that don't know the real value. Like, what's the value from a business, sponsoring you and giving you money?
Right.
Like, how's that business actually, benefiting from that? And so we started this process of an athlete search where, you know, and we're going to change this because initially we have it where our premium members, which is only $10 a month, actually
Mm-hmm.
get entered, and we actually look at every single one of them and we say, you know, post, do the things you need to do to your own personal brand. Like, if we were
Yeah.
sponsoring you, are you working hard? Are you chasing your dreams? Are you
Yeah.
authentic? And that person we want to give $25,000 to, which we're just a startup. We're just starting up.
Yeah.
We've been here for a year, and we're continuing to evolve this, and we're going to give even more. Next year, it's going to be free to enter. And the reason we did
Yeah.
$10, just so everybody knows, is because, if I own Wrangler, I'm going to sponsor somebody that probably wears Wranglers.
Yeah.
Do you utilize, the business? Do you utilize the platform, and we want
Yeah.
somebody that uses our platform, because that's the person that, says, hey, for me, when I did a deal with Relief Factor, I used their product for an entire year.
Yeah.
I even mentioned a word for them. I was great. And I was under the presupposition that, hey, this is probably not going to work out, and I'm okay with it because I love this product and I stand behind it. And so, kind of giving back, that's one way in which we're doing that, is we want to continue to grow that to where every year, we're able to give somebody a good amount of money. $25,000,
Yeah.
that's a good chunk of change to help a guy get
No, that's
and
for guys, people don't realize that, are just getting into the Western culture from watching Yellowstone or whatever brought them in, and see this sport and get, fall in love with it. Really, rodeo guys don't make a ton of money, and we spend a whole lot trying to make a lot of just little, and so it's about the passion, it's about the way of life, it's definitely the culture, and it's cool to see that, definitely what you guys are doing. I love what you just laid out there with that program. That's a really cool thing for me. $25,000 was, definitely a game changer from a sponsorship level, and that would have been something I would have been all over. From Rank Ride standpoint, yeah, our charity is driven from the gameplay. It's $5 to enter every contest, and every week you can go on and pick as many teams as you want. We were giving quite a bit of money out over the last 3 years. We've given probably over close to 100 grand out now, just on a free level before we even monetize,
yeah.
just to try to test the software and get people going. And that was all driven by me going out and raising a lot of money to build this product. And we thought we had PBR helping us, along that way, which we've talked about. But when they jerked the rug out from under us, that kind of had major implications to where we're at. And so that's kind of where we are. This is a call to help us continue to drive the effort. We need as much support as we can get. The game's totally free to play for all the people that want to try it out. We need your input. We need your feedback. We're here to make this experience as good as it can be. From all the riders and stock contractors out there, everybody's welcome to play. But if you're a rider, we can't pay you to win. We can't let you pay to play. But everybody can play free. And what I would like to invite everybody to do, from a rider standpoint, is play for free. You see me here in the studio. We're about to start a podcast of our own every week.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing a lot more insight in the game area, on the gameplay, on the website, how the website works. And we're going to be bringing in a lot of the game players to interact, and hopefully bring you bull riders on and do a little segment where it's fantasy friends, and we're going to bring everybody on together and
Cool.
talk bull.
It makes me so excited about all of this, because when I started, it was just completely as a fan. Like, before I got on the back of a bull, I was at my cousin's house watching in 2012, me and my cousin are watching the PBR, every single weekend. And at that time, they had started up a little fantasy deal, and that ended up falling through. And it just I play fantasy football every year. I'm playing fantasy football, and so like I love it. And as a coming from that sports background, like this is as a fan, this is a huge deal. Like I mean,
Yeah.
this is a way for fans to really get excited and involved with everything that's happening.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost anything to play, and it'll only evolve and get better with the help of the fans, with the help of the riders. Again, I'm not a billion-dollar corporation like PBR, and they've already partnered up with the outside world to dominate this space. But we're calling out all the fans and all the riders from within the community to help us drive this effort. This is kind of the opportunity, like the 30 guys from PBR had back in 1993 or 4, whenever it was, and to get together and help come together as a community to build something really special. We will be offering some investment out there to the community pretty soon to open this up to the community. Yeah, we're here to stay, and however we have to improvise and adapt to overcome, we will.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's the future of rank riding stuff too? Like how far into each like because there's rodeo and there's a lot of different disciplines. Like what does that look like as far as now there's the NFR. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different avenues here. So if it's a barrel racer, or if it's a team roper, maybe it's a saddle bronc rider. What
We
about?
definitely want to expand into the other areas of rodeo. We've got some very interesting things coming up. I can't talk a whole lot about, but it's going to be exciting to see how we grow. A large portion of what we do, in your audience that may not know, is we do special feature content as well. Like I said, as you can see behind me, we've got the Ultimate Bull Rider TV show. We just did one pilot last year, but we'll be doing a whole season of that coming up pretty soon. I can say that. And there'll be some new changes to that make that very interesting. Also, there's some other special feature short film segments that we've done. We just signed, or we're about to sign, I should say, a major TV deal. Keep your fingers crossed that goes through, and we'll have more to say and announcements about that on a whole different project that is going to bring in a very new, interesting side of rodeo. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the things we've got to roll out. I wish I could say more today, but I've got to keep it tucked.
Yeah, no, for sure. What was, I guess, if you were, was any of this prepared before you stopped competing? So you kind of made a transition, following afterwards, where you were on your feet and transitioning into doing this. Prior to your retirement, did you ever really consider what that was going to look like? Obviously it was unexpected retirement. It was kind of a forced deal. But did you, spend time thinking about, hey, I need to start looking into what this looks like when you're done, and maybe talking to like bull riders or other rodeo athletes who, hey, when you're done competing, you're gonna stop making that income, and you need to start thinking now, like, how can I transition into a life outside of competition in a way that, I'm free and I don't just go work a 9-to-5 job and I hate it.
Well, two of the friends that really, I guess three, I have three friends that I can name that I'm really close to still, that I really have always respected, that have always challenged me in my business mindset and just my investments from bull riding. One is Douglas Duncan. Him and I grew up together. He's always been really smart with his money. He's always been a good businessman to some degree. We both made probably pretty poor decisions at times of money as well, but he's always been a really sharp guy and made really good decisions. He's making really good investments now with multifamily construction and duplexes and apartments and things like that. It's really cool.
I just was actually looking into Douglas because, I mean, again, when I started, that was one of the people, that group of guys. When you guys in that 2012 area, to me, those were my heroes, because that's who I got to watch. And Douglas,
Absolutely,
guys, and And I just
Him
was
and
to him the other day on Instagram, and because I'm like, man, one of these days I want to have Douglas Duncan on here, because I never really got to talk to Douglas, because really when I came up into PBR, he was transitioning out. He was having those hip issues, and so
yeah. No, Douglas, I love Douglas. We met when I was about 11, probably. And, or maybe, I guess he was maybe 11. I don't know. We were both close to junior bull rider age anyway, maybe 13. And, we've been close friends ever since, rodeo together. He inspired my bull riding career majorly, but from a business mindset too. And then, Chase Outlaw would be the next one. Chase is, he came in on this project as soon as I broke my neck and decided I wanted to do this. He was one of my first investors and
that's
believed in
awesome.
me to help me. And he's actually one of my biggest investors here. So he's a partner here at Rank Ride. Matt Triplett has also been a huge help to me and a major inspiration. Like when we were still riding, he was making good investments with his money he was winning, and really kind of helped me get my perspective, and just inspired me to think about, how am I spending my money when I win it? Like what am I putting this into? Am I making good decisions? Um, Matt was good about seeking the right type of counsel to help him with his financial investments. And that's something I've always really respected Matt for. And he's been a huge supporter for Rank Ride. And love you, Matt. Appreciate you, buddy.
Actually, the podcast just came out with Matt. So that was the last podcast that I did with Triplet. Yeah, he did the same thing
Yeah.
for me. It was a big deal that he kind of helped. People don't realize too, like when you transition to actually, you're making a living riding bulls, and
Right.
that's what you're doing. Money management is such a major deal, and how you're
So big.
utilizing your money and what you're investing in, because you got to invest in things where that money is going to work for you at some point, and
Absolutely. And I think there needs to be a whole lot more of that knowledge spread around there. And I'm really excited to, see what you guys continue to do with this podcast and get into what we want to do with Rank Rides podcast, and gonna have to bring you on to ours now.
hey, you got a nice studio set up now.
Yeah,
So
we got to bring you into the studio next time.
yeah, that's gonna
Uh,
be legit.
yeah, man. But it's the training, the coaching, the knowledge, the technology, all these things we've talked about today, the new innovation for the next generation of the sport, while also not leaving out the older generation and those who've paved the way before us, is so important, and something that we really have our mind on here at Rank Ride. With Rank Ride Productions on the TV side, to the technology side, to the event production side with Ultimate Bull Rider. I think you're going to see a really cool combination of these things moving forward in the future.
Heck yeah. Guys, it's been awesome having everybody join in. It's been awesome having you, Bonner. What are your social media handles so everybody can get connected?
So you can find me at Bonner_Bolton on Instagram, and just Bonner Bolton on Facebook. Rank Ride Ranch on all of our socials, from TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and go to our website, rankride.com. We've got games happening every week right now. We're going to be updating the gameplay a little bit to kind of make a more simple pathway for all of the gameplay options for every game happening for the team season. This is our first season to game on the team, so we've got a little bit of some loose adjustments to make, but it's been pretty good so far. And again, we're just really wanting to make sure everyone knows that the effort is to drive charity and help support the community. We're here for you guys, and love the, I guess, just the progressive nature that the sport's taken with the teams, definitely. And we hope to see PBR get this right at the end of the day. We want to, but at the same time, the sport's really never had any major critics, and I guess they put me in a great position to become that a little bit. And you'll see a lot more information coming out around everything we're doing on our podcast. Check us out at Rank Ride TV.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, it's been awesome having you, Bonner. Thanks for joining in, guys, and we'll see you next week.